Good evening and welcome to Broward County, Florida. I'm Jake Tapper. You're about to witness an historic exchange between survivors of a horrific school shooting and their elected leaders. In this arena are thousands of people whose lives were changed forever 1 week ago today when a gunman opened fire inside Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School and killed 17 students and teachers. 4 victims remain hospitalized. But since that horrible day, we have seen this community come together, and we have seen an amazing and eloquent group of students with various opinions talk about what they feel needs to change. We're here tonight to facilitate your desire to speak directly to your leaders. Students and family members and faculty will get to ask questions to Florida's 2 U.S. senators, Republican Marco Rubio and Democrat Bill Nelson, as well as their Congressman, Democrat Ted Deutsch. And later tonight, these students and their families will get to ask questions of the Broward County Sheriff, Scott Israel, and a national spokesperson for the NRA. We should note that President Trump declined an invitation to be here tonight, either in person or from the White House, as did the governor of Florida, Rick Scott, who declined to be here in person or from Tallahassee. Before we begin tonight, we want to take some time to remember the 17 beloved members of the community who were murdered 1 week ago today. May their memory be a blessing. Students, parents, and teachers, the lawmakers are ready to answer your questions, but first, they each wanted a minute to address you specifically. I'm going to start with Congressman Deutsch.
Thanks, Jake. Thank you. Thank you, and thank you to CNN for being here in South Florida for a very important and yet incredibly difficult evening. A lot of people have told this community, people from all around the world, that it's too soon. It's too soon to get together to have this kind of forum. It's too soon to talk about preventing another tragedy like the one that struck our community from happening anywhere again. It's too soon to talk about getting weapons of war out of our communities. It is not too soon. It is too late for the 17 lives that were lost. It is too late for the grieving families, too late for the injured, too late for the 3,300 survivors of what happened. Senator Rubio and Senator Nelson, we represent these fine people. We will not be judged by what we say here tonight, by the quality of our answers, or by any back and forth in words. The folks in our community don't want words. They don't want thoughts and prayers. They don't want discussions. They want action, and we owe it to them to provide it.
Senator Nelson. Senator Nelson.
We're all grieving. Your hope gives me hope. Your determination gives me more determination. And what we're facing is what's going to be done. Now, there ought to be some common sense solutions, like getting the assault rifles off the streets. Another common sense solution, having criminal background checks on every acquiring of a gun. So you have been so strong. Keep it up and keep hope alive. Thank you.
Senator Rubio.
There's no words that could describe the pain that a parent feels at the loss of a child, or when you lose someone that's loved. It's not natural to lose a child. And I am a U.S. Senator, and I'm also a member of this community, and I'm also a father, and I'm also a husband, and I'm also someone who loves, but I don't know what the pain it's like to lose a child. I did not grow up in a school or at an era in which children were shot in classrooms. And even as we watch this pain and the nation suffers with you, we can never know the feeling. I can tell you this, there is a message that's come through loud and clear. And that is that beyond simply the pain, mixed with that pain is a demand for action. And, well, in that realm, I want to be honest with you. I think all of us would like to see action, but I want to tell you what we're going to struggle with. We are a nation of people that no longer speak to each other. We are a nation of people who have stopped being friends with people because of who they voted for in the last election. We are a nation of people who have isolated ourselves to only watch channels that tell us that we're right. We're a nation of people that have isolated ourselves politically, and to a point where discussions like this have become very difficult. I'm here tonight, and I'm here tonight to answer any question anyone has, explain anything you want to know about what I stand for, what I've done, and what I plan to do. And to the students that are here tonight, the ones on the stage, the ones in the audience, I want you to know that I'm actually extremely excited about your engagement. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because I think you have a chance to do a lot more than change gun laws. You should push for that. You have a chance to do a lot more than that. You have a chance to change the way we talk about politics in this country. And the reason why this event is here so important tonight, the reason why this event is so important, none of us wish we were here. 8 days ago, none of you thought you'd be here. But we are here, and it's important that we are, because tonight people who have different points of view are going to talk about an issue that I think we all believe, and that is that this should never have happened, and it can never happen again. And if we want to truly ensure that it doesn't, if we want to ensure that it doesn't, then we are going to have to find a way as a nation, to work with people that may not agree with us on certain things, without accusing one another of being evil people. And my side is as guilty of that as any. And here's what I hope for the students. Do not make the mistakes that my generation is making. It may not be, I hope it's not too late for my generation, but it most certainly is not for yours. Understand that people, and I think on a regular basis we do that in the Senate, between Senator Nelson and I think people that disagree on issues can agree on what they want to achieve and can find a way forward. And that's what I hope tonight is beyond anything else. Because sadly, we cannot reverse what happened 7 days ago today. But we can make sure that one of these events never happens again in any community in this country. And if tonight is the beginning of that, then we will have said that this was meaningful. And that's what I'm here to do. And that's what I hope we can achieve together. And that's why I'm here tonight. You may not like everything I say or everything I stand for, but I want to find a way forward to solve this problem so that never again will any community have to face this, any parent have to face this, or any child, yours or mine, have to face this in what I believe is the greatest nation on earth.
Thank you. I want to bring in Ryan Schachter. Ryan Schachter's younger brother, Alex, was killed in the shooting. Alex was 14. He played in the school band and the school orchestra. Ryan has a question for Congressman Deutsch. Ryan?
Congressman Deutsch, my name is Ryan Schachter. I'm a senior at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. My brother Alex was killed in the shooting last Wednesday. I'm supposed to go back to school in the upcoming week. My friends and I are worried that we are going to be murdered in our classrooms. What reassurances can you give me, and what specifically are you going to do to make sure that we can't have this fear?
Well, first of all, I offer my heartfelt condolences. I'm sorry for your loss. And I understand why you feel that way, because in our country today, what happened at Stoneman Douglas, it has happened too many times. What am I going to do? Well, as a starter, next week when we go back to Washington, we're going to introduce legislation to make sure that assault weapons are illegal in every part of this country. But that's not going to help you when you go back to school. And all I can tell you is that we stand with law enforcement in Broward County. We stand with the administration and the teachers in your school to provide as much security, as much comfort, as much as can make you feel that you're in a safe place. But beyond that, the best way for us to show that is to take action in Washington, in Tallahassee, to get these weapons of war off of our streets.
Thank you, Congressman. I want to bring in Fred Guttenberg. Fred's 14-year-old daughter, Jamie, was lost last week, and he has a question for Senator Rubio.
Senator Rubio, I just listened to your opening, and thank you. I want to like you. Here's the problem, and I'm a brutally honest person, so I'm just going to say it up front.
Yes, sir. When
I like you, you know it, and when I'm pissed at you, you know it. Your comments this week and those of our president have been pathetically weak. So, you and I are now eye to eye, because I want to like you. Look at me and tell me guns were the factor in the hunting of our kids in this school this week. And look at me and tell me you accept it and you will work with us to do something about guns.
Fred, I'm not, first of all, let me explain what I said this week, and I'll repeat it. I'll repeat what I said. And then I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. We're going to talk about guns, and we're going to talk about what I said this week. And here's what I said. I said that the problems that we are facing...
Let him speak. I think we need to hear it.
I'm saying that the problems that we're facing here today cannot be solved by gun laws alone. And I'm going to tell you what we've done already and what I hope we'll do moving forward.
Were guns the factor in the hunting of our kids?
Of course they were. And here's
it's the weapon of choice. Can you say that?
Number one, Fred, I absolutely believe that in this country, if you are 18 years of age, you should not be able to buy a rifle, and I will support a law that takes that right away.
Fantastic.
I will support the banning of bump stocks, and I know that the president has ordered the attorney general to do it, and if he doesn't, we should do it by law. I will support changing our background system so that it includes more information than it includes now, and that all states across the country are required or incentivized to report all the information into it. And let me tell you what I've done already. Last year, when we came up with our budget in the Senate, I pushed for and got approved $50 million a year through the Sandy Hook Initiative to provide a threat assessment fund for all states to be able to stand up in each of the school districts a way to identify people who could potentially do this and get ahead of it before it happens. I support moving forward on that initiative and making it widely available for everyone around the country. Now, I think what you're asking about is the assault weapons ban.
Yes, sir.
So let me be honest with you about that one. If I believed that that law would have prevented this from happening, I would support it. But I want to explain to you why it would not.
Senator Rubio, my daughter, running down the hallway, and Marjorie Stoneman
sir.
Douglas was shot in the back
Yes, sir.
with an assault weapon, the weapon of choice.
Yes, sir.
Okay? It is too easy to get. It is a weapon of war. The fact that you can't stand with everybody in this building and say that, I'm sorry.
Sir, I do believe what you're saying is true. I do believe what you're saying is true. I do believe what you're saying.
Everyone, the senator has a right to be heard. He's answering Mr. Guttenberg's question.
I do believe what you're saying is true. I believe that someone like this individual and anyone like him shouldn't have any gun. Not this gun, any gun. But I want to explain to you for a moment the problem with the law that they call the assault weapons ban. And if you'll give me and indulge me for a minute to explain to you the problem. First, you have to define what it is. If you look at the law and its definition, it basically bans 200 models of gun in this country, about 220 specific models of gun.
Good, good.
Okay? But it allows legal 2,000 other types of gun that are identical. Identical in the way that they function, in how fast they fire, in the type of caliber that they fire, in the way they perform. They are indistinguishable from the ones that become illegal. And the only thing that separates the two types, is if you put a plastic handle grip on one, it becomes banned. If it doesn't have a plastic handle grip, it does not become banned. So let me explain, if I may, just for a moment more.
Are you saying,
what the problem has been with the law.
You will start with the 200 and work your way up?
I would explain to you what has happened.
It's a place to start. We can do that.
Well, but let me explain to you what's happened. So in New York, they have passed that ban. And you know what they've done to get right around it? It took them 15 seconds to do it. They simply take the plastic tip off. They just take the plastic grip off the front or the back.
So we don't
the
start.
Same gun, and it becomes legal. Performs the exact same way. So what my belief remains, that rather than continue to try to chase every loophole that's created, it's why it failed in '94, it's why they're getting around it now in California, it's why how they get around it in New York, is we instead should make sure that dangerous criminals, people that are deranged, cannot buy any gun of any kind. That's what I believe a better answer will be.
Okay.
Your answer speaks for itself.
Thank you, Mr. Guttenberg. I appreciate your time. The only thing I'm not going to tell anybody in this room to not feel. I'm not going to tell anybody in this room not to feel strongly and not to feel emotional. The only thing I will tell you is, when you do this, you're eating up into the time that other people in the audience, other people who want to ask questions, are asking questions, okay? So you behave how you want to behave, but I want to make sure that as many people in this community get to ask questions. That's why I'm here. We're going to go now to junior Samantha Grady. She was in one of the classes that the gunman attacked, and she has a question for Senator Nelson.
Senator Nelson, I was shot twice. I was grazed on my back and ricocheted on my chest. My best friend was killed right in front of me. And the experience that I had can never be taken away from me, no matter how much I want it to be. What are you going to do to strengthen background checks to prevent another tragedy like this from occurring again?
We have in Florida what is known as the gun show loophole. There was actually a constitutional amendment passed in 1998 to our state constitution, and it was to be left up to the counties, and most of the counties have not enforced the gun show loophole. And as a result, you can go to a gun show. If it's not a licensed federal dealer that is selling a gun, there is no requirement of a criminal background check. That's one thing can be done not only in Florida, but that can be done in Washington as well. You asked specifically about the criminal background check. That would certainly help. It would have, if there had been an intrusive one, it would have gotten to Omar Mateen, the murderer in the Pulse nightclub, 49 lives. I want to say that my colleague, Senator Rubio, and I have a good relationship. We get a lot of stuff done together. And I want you to know that I told him before we came out here tonight that he had guts coming here when in fact there is no representative of the state of Florida. Our governor did not come here, Governor Scott, but Marco did. I would expand further and just tell you there are so many other things that we can do. Certainly mental health. Certainly the question, as the sheriff had brought up, about putting armed deputies. But when you get right down to it, the gun is what is going to do the killing. And I'll just finally say this. I'm a native Floridian. I grew up on a ranch. I've always had guns. I've hunted all my life. I still hunt with my son. But an AK-47 and an AR-15 is not for hunting, it's for killing.
I want to bring in Gabriel Edenbaum. He's a first-year student. He saw the shooter across a courtyard at school and hid in a closet until a SWAT team arrived. And Gabriel has a question for Congressman Deutsch. Gabriel.
Dana, why can a 19-year-old with mental health issues and other problems walk into a gun store and buy an AR-15 and ammunition? How was he able to get a gun when he was mentally ill and his mom called the cops on him 39 times?
Right. First of all, I can't imagine how terrifying that must have been for you. And you're right to ask the question. The fact is, in this case, this shooter, 39 times law enforcement came to visit. There were disturbing, frightening social media postings. The fact is that what we need to do, and there are efforts at the state and there is federal legislation that would do it, is provide law enforcement the opportunity to get a gun violence temporary restraining order so that if it's clear that someone might do damage, then that person's gun should be taken away from them. And I know, Jake, I know this is not a debate, but I don't know if we're going to get back to it. And I just want to respond to something Senator Rubio said because he told us a lot about his views on the assault weapons ban. And I would just simply say this. If there is a problem with the assault weapons ban, which, by the way, when it expired, let's be clear, mass shootings went up 200% in the decade after the assault weapons ban expired. But if there is a problem with the way that was written, if there were too many loopholes for people trying to get around it to utilize, then let's bring up the assault weapons ban and close all those loopholes so that we have a bill that keeps people safe.
And Gabriel's is an excellent question, and I want to answer that one if I may. I know it's not a debate, but this is an important point. It really is, because it is an issue that I want people to understand more about. First of all, I appreciate your words. Being here tonight is not courage. Courage is what you did and what you guys are doing and what those teachers and administrators did. That's courage. And Fred, you talked to your story a moment ago. I would tell you that what you've done in this effort, irrespective of we may have a different view on something, that's courage. That's real courage. Now, on the issue that you've raised about the background checks, relate directly to what you said about the assault weapons ban. It's not the loopholes. It's the problem that once you start looking at how easy it is to get around it, you would literally have to ban every semi-automatic rifle that's sold in America. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. That is a valid position to hold. But my colleagues do not support banning every semi-automatic rifle sold in America.
I believe that the idea that a gunman like this could march down the halls of Stoneman Douglas High School and fire off 150 rounds in 6 or 7 minutes, that gun should be banned. There is no reason anybody should own one of them.
And that is a very valid point. But my point is that under the law that you support, there would still be 2,000 guns that were legal that could do the exact same thing.
Well, then let's sit down and figure out what they are so that we can ensure people...
I know, but look, this is an important discussion because now you're seeing what the debate is about the assault weapons ban. And I just ask, are you in favor of banning any gun that can do what the AR-15 can do? Yes or no?
I am in favor. Senator Rubio, if you have a concern about something, let me just answer this question because it's important.
It is. That's the whole debate.
Yeah, and the answer to the question is, do I support banning weapons that fire off 150 rounds in 7 to 8 minutes, weapons that are weapons of war that serve no purpose other than killing the maximum number of people they can? You bet I am.
Okay. That's important to know. And that is a very fair position to hold. So and I just want you to understand that goes well beyond the bill that's before us now.
Well, then sit with me and let's come up with something that you support.
I'd like to let Senator Nelson into this conversation as well.
I only raise that not to get into a debate, and I want Senator Nelson to speak, of course. I just want to say that the reason why I raised that point is so you understand that is what the debate is about. It is about the fact that there are over 2,000, virtually every rifle sold in America today can do what that gun does.
That's not true.
It is true. It's absolutely
Senator Nelson.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Let me tell you about the bill that I have co-sponsored. It defines very specifically assault rifle. It lists 200 different assault rifles. It lists, for example, the Kalashnikov AK-47 that, did you know, is manufactured in this state? Did you know that the state of Florida, the governor's office gave financial incentives for them to come into the state and manufacture? Tell you another one that it is listed in that list of over 200 rifles. It's the Sig Sauer MCX. That was the one that Omar Mateen, despite the fact that he had been on the terrorist watch list and was off, went into a gun shop and purchased that high-powered assault rifle. And on that list, it also includes the AR-15. And did you know that the state of Florida, the governor's office, gave financial incentives for the Colt Corporation to come to Kissimmee to manufacture AR-15s, the same one that wreaked such havoc here and that you all are suffering so terribly from.
Thank you.
And so it can, in fact, be defined if you're very specific, and that's the bill that I am a co-sponsor of.
Thank you, Senator. I want to bring in Senior Ryan Deitch. He has a question for Senator Rubio.
First, I'd just like to say to Senator Rubio, thank you so much for coming out here. I know, especially everybody that I've been working with over the past week, we've just really wanted to reach out and speak face-to-face to anybody who has a say in this debate. And I know this is not a debate, this is a discussion, but I'm just thankful to have you here, to be looking at you today. Thank you so much, sir, for coming. Now I'd like to say, Senator, these drills, code reds, active shooters, they've been a part of my life for as long as I can remember. When I was in 5th grade, I had to hide in a closet, in a bathroom for 3 hours and just waiting with my teacher and nearly 20 other kids to see that just because a shooter has come to our town, not even in the school itself, now 7 years later, I'm in a closet with 19 other kids waiting, fearing for my own life. Now I'd like to ask you that after me and several others have been going out of their way, going to the state capitol, speaking out, we'd like to know, why do we have to be the ones to do this? Why do we have to speak out to the Capitol? Why do we have to march on Washington just to save innocent lives?
I agree. You're right. You're absolutely right. And let me start by saying, and it goes without saying, that what you've lived through and what you lived through is not supposed to be a part of your high school experience. It's just not supposed to happen. The second thing I would say is that it is unfortunate that in this country we have been able to make progress on any major issue for a lot of different reasons, and this being one of them. But you do have a chance to change it. I really believe it. But to change it, we are going to have to figure out how people that have strong feelings on both sides can agree on things, and I think you are making progress. I can tell you what's already happening as a result of your advocacy. For example, I've already announced, and I hope they will pass it, I really think they will, and they should, a concept called a gun violence restraining order that allows authorities, and it has to be someone in your immediate family, it has to be somebody you live with, it has to be your parent, it has to be an administrator, can go to authorities and allow someone to not just be prevented from purchasing any